Hello everyone, a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all. Myself Vaibhav. I welcome all of you to today's session of Visual JForex, in which we will continue to work with the indicators, acceleration, deceleration, oscillator, and the volume. This is a multi-indicator formation where we will try to look for the optimum trade entry and exit points using the combination of these two indicators. So let us now head to the Visual JForex board, which has been developed by the Dukascopy Bank SA to make the algorithm development job quite easier. You can just spend a couple of hours and you will be pretty much ready to start developing the algorithms on your own. So for the day, we will start where we had left last time around. In the last session, I had explained to you how we can get the instrument subscription done, where the Euro USD was used as the instrument of choice. Afterward, the position amount was defined at zero to make sure there is no existing pending or open position on the account to avoid the doubling down of any existing position. Afterwards, I had added these two acceleration deceleration oscillator blocks with the parameters defined for the candle period of 1 hour, look back period of 1, while the fast period and the slow period were left with the default values. No tinkering was done. And to consider the volume data, here also we are considering the last 2 hours volume output. And to look at the price volatility, we are also taking the help of these info candles of hourly and 10-second time frame. And we had also defined a new variable with the value of 10 pips. Now I will give you a brief refresher of sort for what the logic is. I had explained to you the logic for the buy as well as the sell trade last time around. And as the session is dedicated more to get the buy side of the equation completed, I will only explain what the requirements are going to be for the execution of the buy trade. So for any buy trade to take place, we want the momentum to be on our side. We want the momentum to be bullish, and not only bullish, it should have recently turned from bearish to bullish. So if the momentum has been bullish for quite a while and we see higher chances of it shifting gears, or you can say even stalling on the higher side, we want to avoid that kind of scenario. So pretty we pretty much want to make sure that we are getting involved in the initial hours of the trend change. So for that, we are going to rely on the acceleration deceleration oscillator, and to look at the market participants' enthusiasm about this new shift, we will be considering the volume data. So for AC, we need the last 2 hours output value to be above zero, and in last hour, it should have been more than doubled compared to the prior hour's output of the acceleration deceleration oscillator, and it should be within the last 3 hours of turnaround. So we will need one more of the AC block on the Visual Forex platform, and there the output should have been negative, which we will add in today's session, and only if the turnaround with a momentum, substantial momentum is happening in that scenario only, we will look to initiate the trade, provided the volume is also rising substantially. And in the last 1 hour, the volume should have doubled compared to the prior hour's volume. So if both these indicators are providing formation with the spurt in the buying interest, only in that scenario we want to get involved for the new trade. And on the price front, we also want the price to have sustained the momentum. So we want the closing value to be above the opening price. So for that, we have defined the variable, and we will need the difference, actual difference, to be greater than 10 pips. So now we head to the Visual JForex board, and here one more of the AC indicator block is going to be needed. So I will add it straight away. This is a Bill Williams indicator. Now the candle period needs to be changed to hourly. The look back period of 4. So when the trend changes in first 3 hours, if the momentum is good enough, new trade will take place on the buy side. We will also have to consider the actual difference. So for that, we are going to need mathematical component of calculation expression to look at the actual difference between the closing price and the opening price of the last 1 hour. So I will have to deduct the candle 19, candle close will be first variable, and from it we deduct the opening price. As for buy trade, we will need the closing price to have been greater than the opening price, and as per the Excel convention, it needs to be A1 minus A2. Okay, this will be actual candle difference. All right. Now coming to the defining of the conditions, we have to start with adding the if blocks. So I'm going to consider logical components here. Multiple action, we take it as the first logical block. I will leave some space in case if we have to add more of indicator or calculation blocks later on. Now coming to defining of the conditions. We want the output of last 2 hours AC indicators to be on the positive side. So we need the output of the last hour to be greater than 0. And same applies for the penultimate hours positive output. It should have been greater than 0. First input greater than second input, again first input greater than second input. All right. Then we consider the output of positive 26, and it should have been greater than 0 again. So first, oh no, this should have been less than 0 actually. This is with the loop back period of 4. So 4 hours back, things should have been on the bearish side. All right. First input less than second input. So these were three conditions which were quite easy to understand and straight away to execute. Now we will need to create new variables, as we have to make sure that the last hour's volume output is more than twice compared to the prior hour's volume output, and same goes for the EC2 indicator output. The last hour's positive output needs to be more than twice of the penultimate hour's AC2 positive output. So I will have to calculate it. I will have to multiply the positive 17 by 2, and similar multiplication will have to be done for volume 18 data. Volume 18 also needs to be multiplied by 2. Alright. So I will take two calculation expression blocks here. Coming to positive 17 and volume 18, we have to now create a new variable with the value of 2. So I will take the value, start value 2, and name it TM. A1 into A2, and here A1 into A2, and this calculation output values now need to be defined. Twice of volume, so I will name it TOV, and twice of AC, so I will name it TOA. Okay, quite easy to understand. Now we have to again utilize these values and compare this with the later hours output value for the acceleration, deceleration, oscillator, and the volume respectively. So now I'm going to take positive 12, which is the last hour's AC2 output, and compare it with twice of positive 17, which is TOA, and it still needs to be greater. So first input will need to be greater than second input. First input greater than second input. Alright. And same goes for the volume. The twice of volume needs to have been less than the last 1 hour's volume output. So I'm going to take volume 13. Alright. And we then continue to new statement using if block. First input greater than second input. Now coming back to the conditions involving the price volatility, we have to check for the closing and opening prices of the candle 19, and here we need the actual difference between the candle 19 candle close and open to be greater than 10 pips. So I'm going to take this variable and compare it with this 10 pips variable which we had defined in the last session. Okay, so with this I think we have more or less defined most of the conditions using the AC2 and volume indicator. And now this is the time to go for the order execution for the buy trade. So for that, the order execution will happen as soon as the price starts to rise above the last 1 hour closing level. So here also the condition is going to remain the same, first input greater than second input. Then we take candle 19 candle output, candle close as the common output in both of these if blocks. Candle 19 is last hourly candle, as you can check. And